Heyo, duckies and dice fiends. Welcome in. I am Kay. This is Gilmore. He's being a lot today. Welcome to the Table Talk Show. I am here with my incredible co-host, running production, David. What the heck is you? And while Gilmore is demanding my attention, what the heck is we doing? And you need to adjust pixel chat dimension. Okay, so hello. So good gravy, y'all. It's
Do,
October.
do,
I don't know how
do.
that happened.
Can I be heard now?
Can David be heard? Will all have to let us know because I cannot. Now, welcome in, lurking writer. Hello, Alaria. Thank you for the resub. Hey, Ribananza. It seems like you might still be mute.
No problem. Can fix that. Da,
Um,
da, da.
we have been. David is running production remotely from a friend's place, so we are fighting with setup. But David is incredible. Oh, just heard. Can I be heard now? So you appear to be good.
Okay.
And yes, you are very bright.
Right? Like, hi, I am under the countenance of a web camera that cannot handle black skin in direct sunlight
Ilaria
because
says, Ilaria says, it's fine. Slippery David saying, welcome to the bread bank.
welcome to the bread bank. We sell bread. We sell no. Um, but hi, welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Table Talk Show Tuesday, where every week we talk about tables that talk. This week brought to you by IKEA. Uh, no, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that everybody can have a good time.
And it is October. That means
Spooktober.
normally there's more stuff for me to be like, oh, this month we're gonna, but like, y'all, that I don't know. I don't lifetime is a so doing the talk show here on Tuesdays. Thursday I'm gonna be streaming something. Friday I may or may not be streaming something. Probably not. Because as y'all may or may not know, I'm getting ready to move. Next Friday we'll hopefully be doing Weird Lots War. Um, and then on Saturdays, the next 2 Saturdays, come by for the last 2 episodes of Unlikely Heroes, run by the incredible Adam So Wizard, with Candace, the Magnificent, Piper, Matt, Improv, and RPG, and myself, with David running production. Yes, David is the light of our lives today. But our October schedule is going to get a little weird because Kay is moving. So bear with us as we attempt to figure all of this out. We appreciate you all so much, but that is actually right now neither here nor there, because we need to talk about Jason.
Yeah, we do.
Now, for those of you who don't know, there was a post that went up earlier this week on Reddit, True Off My Chest. I'm going to read it off because we're going to talk about why you shouldn't be this Jason. Now, we have a Jason associated with the channel. Great. That Jason. But this
Yes.
tweet, I will, for those of you who don't want to deal with my narrating this, Persephone Roth screenshotted this and shared it, which we got it. So, off my chest. I think my former DM quit playing D&D. Playing and DMing D&D after my group told her she wasn't good enough. Buckle up, y'all. We all gonna get real mad together. I'm part of a group of 5 friends that love Dungeons and Dragons. We all played for a nightmare of a DM, but we liked playing together. We recently held auditions for a new DM and had a few duds before coming across a new DM. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that, Lurking Writer. We'll call her Willow. Willow had a lot of green flags. She was willing to listen and had a lot of homebrew material. She spent over 18 hours writing a one-shot for us to try out so we could test if we liked her style. After that, we happily asked her to be our GM. Turn K up, David?
Yes.
Oh, I can turn I had to turn it down a little bit for podcast last night.
Turn me up in the headphones.
She spent over 2 days of her own time designing a world, building characters with us, and answering our questions. We played session 1 and everybody had a lot of fun except for one player. I'll call him Jason. Jason has really high expectations. He played for some DMs who have actual play games, professional D&D, so he has really high standards. Most of the group really liked Willow. And as we gathered for a meeting before our second session, Jason voiced that he didn't want her to DM for us anymore, that she wasn't polished enough, that her world had plot holes, and that he didn't like how she played NPCs. And because we play together and are willing to split apart the group, we dropped Willow 15 minutes before session 2. Doesn't end there. She had a really angry reaction, but it was kind of appropriate, you think. I understand why she felt betrayed. It has been about 6 months since we dropped her. We have yet to find a DM that meets Jason's expectations. Well, I messaged Willow yesterday. She told me she had sold her books and dice and given up on ever DMing or playing ever again. She seems okay with her decision, but I know D&D was her whole life. She loved it so much. She also told me she was going to block everybody she had ever played D&D with because she was cutting it out completely from her life. Before she blocked me, she told me Jason had PM'd her and told her she wasn't good enough for our table and she should probably stick to writing books. She even sent a screenshot. I feel awful. I feel like we chased away a very talented DM from the hobby because she wasn't as good as an actual play DM. I feel disappointed in myself. I feel hurt. And I feel angry that we ruined the experience of a person who put so much effort and energy into writing a story for us. I feel sick. Yes, everything about this story is infuriating. And all of it comes down to, yes, the rest of the group was also a problem. But Jason, we need to talk about Jason. Because I think we all know Jason is a toxic player. And I think we all know just from reading this, Jason has even in-character control problems, right? Jason is the person who is not letting the party or the other players do what they want to do because Jason has to be in control.
Now,
Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, one, you're 100% correct. Two, we all know people who, no matter what, nothing is good enough for them.
Mhm.
And like different people meet them in different contexts. I've met a couple of people. I was fortunate enough whereby I hung out with people who took me to restaurants all the time. And I've had some fucking decadent ass meals in my life, and I've had some kind of like garbage meals in my life. And all of that is okay because you can't discover new cool things if you're not willing to experience things that aren't perfect or ideal or whatever.
Mhm.
And there is more than one person where I'm like, I don't care who's paying for it. I don't care how expensive it is. I don't care who else is going to be there. Like Megan the Stallion could be there. I ain't going. Because for this person, like you sit down, you get the plate of food, and they take one bite, and they're like, okay, so this is good, but at this place, they do such and such, and at that place, and here's what I would do differently. And it's just like, can you not enjoy anything? And like, I cook, so like I love to like brainstorm stuff, but like you sit and you like eat the foods for, and either way, I am not like down talking the $150 plate that was just put in front of me. Um,
You're trying to figure out how to recreate that.
right.
How can I do this myself?
And there are people where it's like, no matter how good it is, they're going to have something to say about it, something negative to say. They can't just like enjoy things. And in addition to all the other problems that this Jason person has, he's also one of those people where no matter how good it is, like if you put Brennan Lee Mulligan at his table, he'd be like, "Well, Matt Mercer would have done this," and it's like, "Go fuck yourself."
So, uh, through comments to this as well as going and finding the actual Reddit thread and like digging through replies. As it turns out, Jason is a forever DM.
Good.
And so very clearly, Jason just, oh no, okay, my audio is wonky. So it's something to do with that. It's not just the group call stranger things. Robot parts.
It also seems like the talk show music isn't playing, but that's because I probably muted it. Properties.
Did you? I think you have that saved to your computer, so you may not have music on it. I'm doing partly.
Hold on. No, I think I just
Remote production is so much fun, y'all.
It's also really fascinating because see,
Also, just so y'all know, and again, I don't know how distorted I am, but we're at 10,000 kilobyte bit rate, and Twitch is telling us we're unstable.
my drive. While I look for this,
Yeah, am I still robotic, or has that little thing passed? Tech issues and cats. It's a Twitch stream, right? Gilmore has decided he's sleeping off camera, so you all don't get to see him. He has decided he has badgered me enough. It's still going. That's a problem.
oh, that's a fucking zip file.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Yeah, this is Jason's fault. This is 100% Jason's fault. So we might have to play around with your encoder, David.
Yep. And yeah, it looks like no, because like on Saturday you were like the talk show music is playing.
No, Saturday was anyhow. That doesn't matter as much, David.
No.
Fix that later.
Okay, yeah, I'll fix that later.
You have to talk because I am a robot.
Oh. Oh no.
You have to be the entertaining one, David. I am a
David
robot.
has to talk. Okay, so like
the singing fixed K. Okay, apparently. Hey, Jason. So, we read this out. I am not going to read it again because I am now no longer a robot, but we are discussing this post. So as it turns out, this Jason is a forever GM. Hey, Mighty Mur, welcome. And yay, robot stuff is gone. So this is a forever GM, and it really, to me, this feels like a dude who's very insecure that someone was actually doing it better than him.
oh yeah.
Like you can't be better than me, but you also have to be up to my standard.
And it's also very telling that someone was like, "Oh, well, I've paid professional DMs and you're not," because let's be real, the DMs and I have a skewed perspective because all the DMs I know are all people who do it for streams, who do it for charity, who do it at conventions.
Mm-hmm.
But like the bar for professional DM, okay, one, the bar for professional DM is low. Two, if you want to say that you are a professional at doing something, here's the big secret. The only thing that professional means is that you've been paid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be a professional writer, then go, talk to all your friends and be like, "Hey, do you need a thing written? Do you need a thing edited? Do you need to do?" And then have them slip you a crisp $5 bill, five whole dollar hairs, or a solid George Washington. And guess what? You're a professional writer now. You're a professional editor. You're a professional whatever. If you've been paid to do it, you are now a professional. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people go, "Oh, well, well, I prefer professionals," it's like, you prefer a guy who got paid to do it once?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can find a professional roofer. That doesn't mean your roof is going to look good.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read this off, and we're gonna brace because David's gonna go. It's gonna be a David time, okay? Mur says, "This sounds like a boyfriend of mine from college, the kind of guy that likes their girlfriends to play video games until the girlfriend beats them."
Listen, I have a story from high school. I went to a sports camp at USC in high school. It wasn't like a USC thing. It was a thing that they contracted on to, and they had basketball courts out. And back then, not anymore, but back then, you could just rock up to those like outdoor basketball courts next to the track and play basketball. And me being who I am, I played a lot of basketball when I was a kid. And I was never good by like my peers' standards, but for your average 16-year-old in the United States, I was better than them. I I played with people who ended up in like D leagues, and one guy played internationally. Like I played with really good, and I'm also short. Like I'm 5'7". Like so, the backup center on the LA Sparks back then comes to the sports camp to do a little like training thing, and these were a bunch of like dudes from the streets who'd been playing basketball since they could stand. Um, and misogyny, but there was also a level of respect because she was a member of the LA Sparks, and it was also this like 8.5 foot tall white woman. Like they grew her in the redwood forest. She was tall, and she's like, "Hey, I need a sacrificial lamb to come out here and so I could show you a thing." And of course, since I was like the shortest, roundest, they pushed me out there, and they were like, "Dunk on David. Just cook him. Just put him in the blender." And so I get down into my stance. She tries to go around me. I poke the ball free, and I'm like, "This is the coolest thing I will ever do." Fast forward, we're walking out, and there's this short, nerdy looking girl, glasses, braids, knee brace, who comes out every morning and from like 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. just shoots free throws. Um, and she was my height. So she was like a little bit tall for a woman.
Mhm.
And she was like college age and never said a word to any of us. Heard that the LA Sparks person was here, immediately had questions for us. And dudes were kind of blowing her off because she was a girl that played basketball. And she's like, I'm probably good enough to. And so they're like, David, go stand in front of her, go play defense. And when I tell you, she went around me and dunked the basketball. There have been precisely 3 people my height I have ever met in my life who've dunked a
Mhm.
basketball, and one of them was a girl. And when I tell you she cooked me so bad that every dude that was standing on the sideline, none of them made fun of me. None of them made a noise.
Hmm.
Everyone was just brain dead silent. Um, and 2 things happened. I was like, one, no, this is the coolest thing that will ever happen to me. And two, will she take my hand in marriage? And one of the greatest tragedies of my life is I never found out her name, and she never showed up to play basketball again. Like she didn't show up the
Oh.
next day, or the day after that, or the whole rest of the camp. She was just gone, and I was just like, please come back so I can propose marriage to you. But I have had a lifetime of women stepping into male predominant spaces and black people stepping into white predominant spaces and making a name for themselves. And every single time, it's cool. Every single time, it is incredibly celebrated. And like whenever there's like a girl who's good at fighting games, and I know that she's a ringer, I'm like, here, have my turn. Go cook everybody here. I can't wait to see this. And if you are not man enough, and if you are not comfortable enough in your caucasity to watch a black or a femme show up and do their thing and be great at it and not celebrate them, then get out. Just get out. It is no comment on your masculinity or whiteness. Like one of the greatest, and I know I'm going a long time, but one of the greatest burns I've ever heard is this is like the last time I was ever playing Call of Duty, and somebody was like, "Boy, you must have a great job and a family that loves you, and like you must have your life together." And the dude was like, "Huh?" It's like, "Cause you're terrible at this game. You never have time to play." And I was just like, "Yo, yo, don't hit him with the you have a full-time job, which is why you're trash at this game." But it's like if you're bad at a video game, That's not like an indictment on who you are as a person. Not all of us have $16 to be, or no, 16 hours to be in the hyperbolic chamber every fucking day. Maybe you're just casually enjoying something. That's okay. You don't have to be an expert at everything that you touch. And that means that women are going to be better at you with things because women are naturally very smart. And when they step into a male space, they're going to be like, oh no, I'm going to put my entire fucking foot in this. I'm
I
not
don't know
going to
what you're
fucking
talking about.
play around because there are a bunch of men here and I have to send them home to their mothers crying. And if you're one of the soft, fucking weak willed men that gets crushed by a woman in a video game and then goes home to your mom and cry, and by go home, I mean ascend the stairs out of the basement to demand your chicken nuggies, then like just get out. Just stay in your mom's basement. Unplug your microphone, unplug your keyboard so you can't type at people. Go play a console game. Go be soft somewhere else. This is not your space. This is not where you belong.
Rant done? Or are we coming back? We just taking a
And one more thing. Fuck, it's gone. Yeah, yeah. Just glug 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 glug. Wait. No, I'm gonna sit here and think about it. I'm gonna try and figure out what it is. But no, continue.
so so here's I don't I don't know if you got this part of this, David. Here's where this entire thing gets obscene. They weren't paying her.
Throw the whole Jason away.
They ran auditions. She ran a homebrew one shot. She custom built a world. Yeah, I mean, we need to get a soapbox emote for David. We really do. But yeah, they were not paying her. And so this poor woman who was just excited to run a game for people, to build a world, to build characters for them, not only now look, this is how you know this Jason is an actual piece of shit. This is how we know this. Do you know how we know this? He didn't bring up that he didn't want to play with her until 15 minutes before session 2. Now, he didn't finish session 1 and go, I felt like there were some plot holes, or hey, I'm really not connecting with the NPCs. He went, we're about to play. I don't want to do it. Here's why. All of y'all back me up. So, yes, Jason is trash. Everyone else in this group is also trash for letting for letting Jason do all of this. Can I just say, well, I don't like things that cause David's rant. I do enjoy him spouting pure wisdom and truth like that, right? Yeah, it is. Everything about this is really, really bad. Jason needs to pay someone to write him self-insert fanfic, right? This is my thing. Like, with all of this, there is no way that Jason is not power gaming. Like, Jason is DMing from the player seat. I can tell you right now, David, like, Jason's a fucking problem. I don't want to go anywhere near that Jason. I love that all of the Jasons showed up to today's stream.
Right.
Discussing how to not be a
It's
Jason.
like
Sorry,
it's like we Beetlejuiced them here.
Right? So.
I remembered.
Okay.
Okay.
Finish the rant.
Also, this episode is a little chaotic, but that's kind of what we do here. Okay. Men, white men, if you are so destined, if you are so predetermined to be good at the things that you say you are good at, then why in God's name do you work so hard to put obstacles in the way of other people?
Hey, Ventilama, welcome on in.
Because, like, let's baseball, basketball, boxing. Boxing, like these were all like white only things until they started letting black people in. And it's like, why were you trying to keep black people out? Because maybe we would have been good at it. Education. and I mean education across the board, law, medicine, science, whatever, mathematics, in the 1800s and in the early 1900s, all the way up to like 1970, schools are like, "You're a woman, we can't let you in." And now it's like 56 or 58% of college graduates are women. It's an even heftier percentage of people who have postgraduate degrees. The computer that put a man on the moon was a black woman. The reason that we have the nuclear bomb is because a woman spent decades giving herself radiation poisoning to the point whereby her notes almost 150 fucking years later are still so radioactive that they have to be behind protective glass. Like, at every step of the way, if it's any sort of intellectual pursuit or if it's any sort of skill-based pursuit, then white men, and I don't mean like the white men watching, because like you haven't you didn't oppress Jackie Robinson back in the day,
Mhm.
but specifically the people who were like, I don't know if we're gonna let him in. Oh, that was another thing. There was like a I think it was a women's league baseball pitcher who struck out Babe Ruth back in like 1924. And they're like, oh no, we have to eradicate every instance of this ever happening because no woman could strike out Babe Ruth. Well, what? Of course, a woman could strike out Babe Ruth because Babe Ruth,
Do,
one, is human, and two, a woman did it.
do you want to be real mad, David? Do you
Yeah,
want to be real mad?
yeah.
This is and Laria Ribbon. This is going to set y'all off because this when I found this out, it made me so angry. There has been exactly one black woman in space. Do you know who put her there? Fucking Elon Musk.
No, no, no. There's been more than one black woman in space.
They got up recently because
N-
the what's it called? The four thing that they did.
Okay, so this is Star Trek lore, which is my favorite type of lore. Um, Nichelle Nichols was like, "I'm done with this terrible ass TV show. I'm out of here." And Martin
Mhm.
Luther King Jr. heard that she was leaving the show, called her up, boop, 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 boop. Don't you fucking dare. Don't you
Right.
dare
Yes. Yes.
take the back of your nappy beehive off of this fucking show. You keep it here.
Hmm.
Fast forward 20 something years, and this young, cute, awkward black girl is playing an engineering cadet, or like a lieutenant, extremely low rank, and is like hanging out with Will Wheaton on in engineering on Next Generation. And I'm like, this woman's a little too awkward. Like, she's not a professional actress. It's because she's not a professional actress. She was the first black female astronaut ever. Now, one, the whole reason that she became an astronaut and
Hmm.
jumped through all those hoops is because of Uhura on Star Trek.
Yes.
And then it's
Okay.
also super cool that Gene Roddenberry and the whole production crew of Star Trek was like, hey, this person from NASA who was inspired by Star Trek, let's
Hmm.
get him in here. And it's just like, it's wild. Whenever a Republican talks about how, like, liberal arts degrees or all these things, for one, these motherfuckers turn on the TV every day and watch it.
Hmm.
And people who are into fashion, people who are into art design, people who are into cinematography, people who are into sound design. Every aspect of creativity goes into making a TV show.
I mean, that's worth all caps, Lauren.
And then
Okay.
the yep.
Third black woman in space. Number three, put there by Elon Musk. And I hate that fact. I had to Google it. I'm like, wait. Which one did it? Continue.
And like, they
Hmm.
go and watch fucking Yellowstone. They watch like 2 seasons of Yellowstone, or they watch fucking reruns of Gunsmoke, or they watch fucking whatever CSI show is the current CSI show, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
reality TV show they like, and they don't realize that queer people and black people and Latin people and all sorts of the people that they say that they hate, and like the West Coast liberals are all making that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you love is
Mm-hmm.
is is made by one of these, like, which is why whenever like the Republicans roll out whatever celebrities that represent their values, it's always some like old washed up, hasn't been in anything relevant in like 30 fucking years.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kevin Sorbo's leading the fucking charge, my guy.
Yeah. Okay. Zycram. The reason I got confused, she was the first pilot. Diane was the first African American woman pilot. But yes, that's where my brain got confused. I was like, I really don't like, I hate anything. Elon Musk is that meme of the worst person you know does something
That has a
like
point.
cool or good.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, stop that. Um, but yes, I
But back
forgot
to
how we
Jason.
got, yes, back to Jason. Okay. So someone asked, why couldn't they get rid of Jason? The answer is they should, right? This post has made it 6 months. They have been through they have been putting different unpaid GMs through tests for 6 months, and they have yet to find one that pleases Jason. Jason is your problem.
Yep. And that is one of the many problems of people who can't be pleased by anything, is because they become the mansion of the US Senate, where they accumulate all the power to themselves because everyone has to defer to them.
Yes.
And like
And
the arrogance and selfishness of that makes you want to scream.
I'm going to be careful what I say here. But we, in one of my circles, had a thing where we had kind of a Jason, not as not as extreme, right? But it was very clearly, I joined into this group and I immediately went, oh, it's Jason's way or the highway. Got it. Right? Like, I get that. I could see it. And it's like, I've dealt with straight white men before, right? I know how to work around that. But this power dynamic had been in play for so long with this group that it didn't occur to certain people that this was actually like a power play, a control thing. This was just like, no, and this is the thing. I can almost guarantee you that Jason is very generous. Jason probably, buys pizza or
Oh,
whatever.
I know who you're
Jason,
talking about.
yes, you
Double
do.
Dutch, fuck them.
Like, I am very sure that Jason, because this feels, again, I've dealt with a lot of narcissists. This feels like a narcissist thing, right? Of like, it's not good enough for me, right? It might be good enough for you. It's
Hmm.
not good enough for me. And look at all that I provide. So we have to keep going till we find something that makes me happy, because look at, as horrible as the experience was for Willow, I am glad not having to deal with Jason or that group now. Exactly. Um, how do you play in professional D&D games? In 15 minutes before a game, you act so unprofessionally as he could. Exactly. Like, Jason is holding people to standards that Jason does not hold himself to. And again, as we were saying earlier, cancels 15 minutes before session 2. Doesn't finish the one shot and go, hey, I didn't really like your NPCs. Do you think we could punch this up? Doesn't finish the first session. Hello, Joys. Welcome on in. There's a pin post saying that the post that we are discussing. Doesn't go to her after session 1 and say, doesn't go to her while character building. They say, spent over 18 hours writing stuff for us, spent 2 days of her own time doing all of this. Nowhere in that discussion did Jason go, hey, I'm not digging this, or hey, this feels like a plot hole. Just so, and David, I don't want to put you on the spot,
That's fine. I've had worse.
but you had a similar ish, non-communicative but angry player.
I almost said I've woken up in alleys nicer than this place, but that is not true. The opposite is true. I've woke up in alleys worse than this place, and not just from hard drinking. Which, by the way, can you even say you've been drunk if you haven't like come to in an alley? Yes, yes, you can.
I, I have not, and I have definitely been drunk.
Yes, absolutely. Um, so I I had this player. The first red flag was I heard everything secondhand. I it was like I don't like this thing, but I didn't hear it from them. I heard it from another player. Um, and I was like, okay, well they can like
Hey,
just
Robo, welcome.
they could just talk to me. And I messaged them and I was like, hey, if you have a problem with this, then like the whole point is to come and talk to me about it and that I will fix it. And there was this just this impression that they thought that I was writing everything in stone. And it's like, no, we're all supposed to have a good time. Come talk to me about the thing and it'll be fine. And then also like different things that I was like laying out were more lenient and more expansive and more generous than rules as written. And they're like, well, I don't like that rule. Why not? Tell me why. Um, and Joy, I will circle back in a second.
Mm.
Um, and then after every session, I would hear from other players this person's complaints, and it's like, why don't you just? And then I put stuff in the game. So it's important to me that we don't just tell a story as a group, but that each character has a character arc. And if you want to show up and you want to just roll dice, and bonk things, that's fine. But you're not going to be happy at my table because I'm going to ask things about your character. I'm going to ask things about like offline. We're going to have a discussion about like your background and what. Speaking of which, there are people in one of my current home games that still owes me homework, but we're not gonna go there.
We're not going to point any fingers here.
Um, I mean, they're probably off boiling water right now, um, but I'm gonna have questions about your character, about their background, about what motivates them, about what flaws they have, about what goals they have, and I am going to put things in the game that uh, gives your character a story arc. And I'm not into making one particular character, even if they're K, the main character of the story. Um, but everybody's going to have their spotlight moments. Like there's a game that I ran where they were like, "Listen, I'm on the run from the Sealy Court." And I'm like, "Who did you piss off?" And they gave me the name of a Fae, of an Archfey.
Mhm.
Um, and then like 5 sessions later, I'm like, hey, you're out in the woods, you walk into a place, there are all these like fairies hanging about, and then you see two of them whisper, and then they both look at you. And I'm like, roll insight. And he rolls like a 16. And I'm like, they recognize you. You recognize them. You're in trouble. Maybe you should run. Um, and it turns into a thing. And like I didn't build the whole encounter for that particular player. And I didn't even like swap out things for fairies for that that player. But it just so happened that we're wandering into a place that had fairies. And like,
Mm.
Kay plays a character in my home game where um I have this whole thing built out underground. And it just so happens that Kay's character has a particular affinity to the underground. And there are other things that are happening, including like there's going to be a whole like Nate the Hoof guy reference. Like it's going to get it. But it's like if I'm putting all this stuff out there and I'm like, hey, what motivates you? I mean, my parents died, so I just go around killing stuff. I'm like, okay, this is dope. What about the guy that killed your parents? It's like, I killed him like 20 years ago. And I'm like, okay, do you have any siblings that might still be alive? Nope, they all died in the same fire. And I'm like, okay, well, there's this orphan that had their parents killed because their house burnt down, by this guy. Yeah? And they're like, nah. And I'm like, at some point as a player, you have to want to interact with the world. And
Mhm.
again, if you just want to go into dungeon and bonk things, that's fine. But you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I've been in the wrong part of town before. I've walked into a Louis Vuitton store and the armed guard locked eyes with me. I'm like, worry not, my guy. I'm too broke to be here. Okay? I'm gonna stand in this precise place for 15 minutes and then I'm gonna leave. And they're like, I bet, as long as you know you're not welcome. I'm like, I know. But also like two people who just want to bunk things and
Mhm.
don't want to give any thought to their characters and don't want to inhabit the worlds that I create.
Yeah.
You two are not like this. I'm not saying you're not welcome. I'm just saying you're not gonna have a good time here.
There was a horror story from someone where they kept going like, they were going through and they had one of those I just want to bonk something player, right? And the rest of the group is a are role players, right? And they just have a bonker and they're like, "Okay, you know, he's like, I'm gonna go talk to the bartender." And they're like, "Okay." And it's like gets this information, he asks you da 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 da. And he's like, "What do you reply?" And like the guy's like, "Okay." And he's like, "What do you reply? What do you say back to the bartender?" Whatever moves the plot along. And just that kept being the answers, whatever moves the plot forward. I don't know, whatever makes this go on.
When I tell you that the sky would open up, that the roof would open up, just to make enough room for a lightning bolt to do like 20 d6 damage to this character, and Dad be like, all right, we're gonna spend the rest of this session rolling another character. And not only are you gonna roll another character, you're gonna roll it in motherfucking triplicate. I'm gonna need that at 5e. I'm gonna need that at 3.5. I'm gonna need that at Pathfinder 1e. Go do your homework.
Also, go build it in Starfinder.
Right.
1E. You don't get 2E for this. Yeah, Rex says, don't want to engage with the story? Go play Diablo. Look, there are absolutely tables where go bonk things is all they want. And that's great. But like, yeah, Jason, if you can only play NPCs one particular way, right? I got a last minute commission to run a game for 4 friends who had known each other for years, who had never been in the same physical space together. And they were like, we are in New York tonight. We have always wanted to play D&D together. We are looking for a GM to come to Manhattan right now and run a game for us. And when I tell you all, they were so happy and they were so excited to play. And they are not this. I was not running a game for Candace the Magnificent and Piper, right? I was not running a game for, Richard from the Emergency Power podcast and Adam, right? A couple of them had character voices, most didn't. The Half-Orc Barbarian was metagaming like nothing else, but all in a very fun way. They were there, they were into it. They'd throw something out like the bard whose name was John Bard. Huh? The bard is like, let's go, everyone! Like, oh, something's bad, citizens, everyone who can fight, let's blah, blah, blah. And like being the commanding, and then gets into a fight and is like, I'm like, how do you fight? He's like, John's like this. John is just
Right.
And John was a tiefling. And I'm like, I imagine he's hiding behind his tail. And he's like, yes. And he referenced it later. Like, voices were generally not happening, but everyone had fun. And everyone was feeding into everyone's energy. And someone said a thing, and it was yes, and. And they were so excited to continue the story and do it again. And I ran Godplane at one point. I've run Godplane a couple times. I don't know if y'all know this. But the first episode of Godplane is a little bit on rails, and it's very much get into the world, get the setting, understand what's going on, get the basics of the quest, like get all of the introduction stuff done in one episode so that we can do the rest later. One time I ran Godplane, we finished the first session, and immediately one of the players goes, so how am I supposed to play this game? Are we just supposed to follow your NPC around everywhere? And when I tell you that anytime I start a game now, that resonates in the back of my head. And I am always terrified of like, am I a bad GM? Am I just trying to show off my characters and my characters' funny voices? Am I that that is in my core and in my soul. And it is a comment that I will never be free of. So being that person will absolutely destroy your GM. There's no question it will absolutely destroy your GM.
And also conversely, I I have had players that an outsider would call bad players.
Mm-hmm.
I had one player that showed up empty-handed every time.
Mm-hmm.
Showed up half an hour late, didn't have his character sheet, didn't have any dice. We always went like an hour over. Um,
Only an hour? You had
yeah,
a D&D session that only went an hour
right,
over?
right. And when I tell you that when this person was at the table, they were fully committed and like locked in and playing and always had like the right type of funny thing to say
Mm-hmm.
or the right sort of thing for their character to do in a situation. And I would have that player at my table 100 times out of 100. I had another player who was like, "Yo, I'm very new to D&D. I don't know what I'm doing." And like after every session would be like, am I doing this right?" And I'm like, "Are you having a good time?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, I'm having a good time." Then you're doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and was also way better at it than they thought they were. But they had a genuine concern for, and like, they played like someone who was a little edgy and someone who mechanically didn't have a lot going on. And so they felt like they weren't really like, and I'm like, you know what? I put MacGuffin in front of you and you pick the fucking thing up and you walk off with it. Great.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, I was like, listen, like the mechanics of the rules of the game, part of my job as a GM is to communicate that with you. And also like GMs, don't be afraid. I hate keeping track of people's spell slots. Um, but I do I keep a window with all the character tabs open or character sheets open because I like to while we're like casually doing something or when we're in combat, kind of flick through their spells and see what sort of like wicked shit they can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
And GMs, feel free to be like, hey, this person over here is doing a thing. If you color spray them, they won't be able to shoot. Or if you do blank, because a lot of because even for experienced players, especially as you get higher in level, that big stack of fucking spells gets overwhelming. Like we were playing Baldur's Gate, and we weren't playing wizard, sorcerer, or warlock. We had a cleric and a bard, and Kay was just like flip, 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 flip. Fuck. Okay, this one flip, 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 flip. Okay, this one, and in a video game where you just click the button, we had combat rounds that sometimes took 5, 6, 7 minutes while we figured out what the hell we were going to do. And the characters I had control of literally just went bonk. Like,
I felt not redeemed isn't the word, right? But I felt better when you got control of a cleric.
yeah, and I
And
was just like, flip, 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 what? Fuck, flip, flip, flip,
I'm
flip.
like, okay, I've got two casters at least. At least I feel good about this.
And then like my third so-called like bad player, 90% of the time, completely quiet.
Mhm.
And like half the time and we're playing remote, half the time has the camera off. So to everybody else sitting there like a bump on the log.
Mhm.
Now two things about this player. Oh, and the other thing is, and it's the rogue in our home game who I beat up on and
Mhm.
who for the first like 5 combat encounters went down to death savings throws just over and over. And like 20% of the time it's because he was being a little like boneheaded, but the other 80% of the time it's like I was just rolling really well and he was rolling really poorly. Like he was just getting bumped. And so two things. One, I'd have conversations with him offline. I'm like, hey, I hope you don't think that I'm picking on you. And he's like, no, no, no. Like this just happens. It's fine.
Hmm.
And also like, you don't say or you have. He's like, I'm having a great time. I'm like, okay, good.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, while we would be playing, and everybody else is doing stuff, and he's sitting there with his camera off, quiet. He would just be on his computer going click, 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 typing me all sorts of stuff, and I'm typing all, and I'm trying to keep a straight face, um, and continue to GM while I'm communicating with him stuff that's going on, and he's rolling stealth rolls in another channel, and so I'm like, all right, roll this, roll, and so I'm like running this whole separate thing while, and the fact that he was having a great time doing all this side shit and being a rogue and being off and doing roguey things. And then, like, 6 months later, he's given me a family tree. I've built an entire new storyline for him. I've invented a new god. He has cat ears. Like shit's getting real. And it's very easy for someone as a GM or like as a fellow player to be like, this person just sitting here doing nothing, and to like dismiss them. But they add a lot of richness to our games. And so, quote unquote bad, tabletop or D&D players, I am happy to have them all the time as long as they A are invested in rowing in the same direction and having a good time, and B are actually having a good time. But if you're not having a good time and you don't say shit to me, I'm going to be fucking livid. And
Hmm.
also, if you are Jason, then I'm going to be fucking livid. Meet you on someone's front lawn. Bring a mouthpiece and a lunch, so I can to protect your teeth, and so I can take your lunch.
Yeah, and I've said this on this stream several times. Like I've had people go like, "Oh, I don't know if I should play." Da, 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 da. Like I don't know uh, I don't know the system, right? I don't know the rules that well. I don't should I and I'm like, I can teach you the rules. I can teach you the system. It's not that hard. I If you haven't played before and it's your first time doing D&D, and D, and especially if it's a one shot, right? Especially if it's a one shot, I'm like, don't play a druid, don't play an artificer. And I'm often like, don't play monk just because key points. I'm like, don't play those classes because they are more complicated than they seem, right? Druid seems very fun until you have to know what the CR of different animals are to turn into them. Don't mess with that for your first one shot. It's not going to be as fun as you think it is, I promise you, right? I can teach you the rules. It's part of D&D. Don't sit down and read the player's handbook. It's not going to be a good introduction, right? I can teach you the rules easily. I want you to have watched an actual play. I want you to understand how to behave around the table. Because if you don't know how to behave around the table, then it's really difficult for me to teach you and keep the game going. I had not played 5e when I started DMing. 6 years later, the campaign is still ongoing. Rex, that is incredible. Oh, no, don't spill things on your keyboard, Mer. Uh, but yes, so communicate with your GM. Like, so much of this could have been avoided with just communication. Like, for real,
And
y'all.
that's part of the manipulation. Is like the
Mhm.
timing and the withholding of communication is very specifically crafted to maximize impact and to consolidate power and
Mhm.
to assert position in a social hierarchy.
Yeah. He took that session away from four other players because why? Because he wanted to have power, and he could have said at any point after that first session, because we don't know how long it was, but I assume it was at least a week between sessions.
Hmm.
Any point that week, he could have said, I'm not feeling it. He waited till 15 minutes before. So everyone was excited. And then he took that away from them.
And the other thing that's a big tell is he sat back and insisted that they bring him DMs so that he could turn them down. for 6 months straight. And like the idea of like being in a long line of people to audition to GM a game for free makes me ill. Because everybody who has ever played a game with me, I'm like, here's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You could get on the bus or you could not get on the bus.
Yeah. When someone last minute said, "Hey, we want to play D&D tonight. What have you got?" I said, "I have a really great one shot that I've run several times. Skyhold Tower. Some of y'all have seen it on this channel." I'm like, "It's a really great one shot. I've edited it to make it more queer and more femme because it pretty uh, straight white dude in the original." Um, and the one guy's like, "Oh, I'm gay, so that's great. We're gonna get along, right?" And they're like, "What level? What do we need to build? What's the party comp need to be?" That, and again, it's one thing if you're going like David was introduced to a person through a person who were like, "We want to play a Jurassic Park style game.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that?" That is very different from do exactly this. You don't do NPCs well, right? Talking to your GM about what you want to play because the system, the setting, like people have come to me and been like, "Oh, can you run this kind of game?" And I'm like, that's just not a story I'm interested in telling, right? I can't tell it as well because I'm not I'm not the person who is going to run a true hardcore sci-fi game because I'm not into traditional sci-fi. It's not for me. Now, do I
And
play in them? Can I put my own twist on other things? For sure. But I'm not the person with all the sci-fi backlore to be able to go like, here's how we build a really cool steampunk cyber thing. Go Dave.
um, if you tell me, hey, we want to play a game where we're all a bunch of messy siblings and then we get thrown back into the 1960s and then all sorts of civil rights era stuff happens, then two things are going to happen. One, I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself. And two, I'm going to drive to Jersey, not fly, not teleport, drive to Jersey, find a man in an alley and punch the shit out of him. Because like
You might need to explain that reference for people who aren't us, who are not specifically us, who are not in our Google chat, David.
there are two people on Earth who will get that reference, and I'm okay with that. But no, Kay has me watching Umbrella Academy, and I will say two things about Umbrella Academy. One, Umbrella Academy is not for Davids. And two, my biggest complaint about Umbrella Academy is that other people in the show do things that distract me from hating Klaus, and that is unforgivable.
Rex, this is someone in Jersey. I was sweating there for a moment.
As far as I know, you haven't done anything punchable, and uh, there is a very thin strip of humanity that has done something that makes me want to drive 3,000 miles illegally to punch you. And that is like Elon Musk, um, David Duke, uh, um, George Lucas. And there's somebody else who owes me like there's some other person who's made media that owes me like $100 that I gotta go and
Bezos not on that list?
Bezos gets the smoke. Well, I file Bezos into all the other billionaires because my main complaint about billionaires isn't that they're evil, isn't that they're selfish, isn't that they're soft. Because let's face it, Elon Musk is the softest snowflake in the history of snowflakes. My complaint about billionaires is they're fucking boring. If you're going to be evil, put your whole fucking ass in it, okay? Be 10 toes down about it. Because Bezos is on record saying, I looked around at humanity and I could not think of anything better to do than build a rocket ship shaped like a dick to shoot myself into orbit. And it's like, I understand that space. Look, I've been a Star Trek fan since birth, since 1983. I understand that space is important. You have enough money in the cushions of your couch to end homelessness in the United States. And you could be one of those like white savior people. Like Bill Gates has committed many crimes and has held back society, civilization as a whole in many, many ways, especially in the past few years. But also, tens of millions of people don't have malaria because of Bill Gates. But here's the thing. None of these people have done anything cool. None of these people have built an amusement park where you have to sign a waiver because if you get on the rides, they will kill you. None of them have built a saw trap. None of them have um like 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 bum fights was done by a dude who was broke. And again, objectively evil things. Like none of them have invented a baby catapult. Like none of them have done things that are like mustache twirling evil. And it's like
Mm.
if you're going to be an evil billionaire, either do something evil and interesting, do something neutral and interesting, or do something good and interesting. Adopt a neighborhood. Like take a zip code and be like, you're all good. Whatever you all need, daycare, college tuition, I've taken care of it. Or make what's Squid Game. Like make your own Squid Game. Be like,
Mhm.
listen, I got $1 million to whoever survives these arduous games, and me and all of my billionaire cronies are going to sit up, Hunger Games style, and take bets on which of you are going to survive. And we're going to laugh about it, and we're going to eat the last thing of this particular species. Because I would have so much more respect for a billionaire if they actually went out and did interesting evil things.
Mm.
But like, yeah, like
Mhm.
go full Lex Luthor. And I don't like using Lex Luthor as an example because Lex Luthor has a point.
I just want sharks with freaking
Right,
laser beams.
right. Like what's his name? One of the
Yeah,
Trump
Mr.
kids.
Beast is doing some of that.
Didn't one of the Trump kids like cut off the head of an elephant? It's like, why would you do this? Like, go get a rhinoceros. Go hire mercenaries to go fight the anti-poacher people to get the last white rhinoceros, and then take it home and put like a fucking birthday coned hat on it, and like one of those like tinsel things around it, and like wrap it in Christmas lights and shit, and then put a Twitch stream of the fucking rhino, and then dare the authorities to come find it. Like, do some evil shit that's actually entertaining. Instead, instead, they are the richest people on earth, and they sit around going, "Oh man, I'm bored. Why is everybody so mean to me? All I've done is like, instigated and funded militias in Africa to overthrow governments. Why does everybody think I'm evil? Fuck out of here. Like, if you're gonna be evil, be 10 toes down about it."
I just I just need you to know, David. You know how I keep figuring out stuff that my poor GMs are trying to.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just did it again. And if you all saw my reaction earlier, I had posted something um in a channel for a game we're playing tomorrow, and I'd been like, okay, so I have a theory that maybe we don't have to do all this, we just have to focus on this because I think this person actually plays by different rules than the other da, 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 da. And the GM's like, why do you
Blink,
why do you think
blink.
that?
Yep.
What makes you think that? And I'm like, did I do it again?
And
Yes.
underground bunkers is a great example. There are all these who's that asshole who owns Facebook? He spent like hundreds of millions of dollars buying up property in Hawaii, which was stolen in the first fucking. We're not going to go there. So that he could spend hundreds of millions of dollars more on fucking underground bunkers in case doomsday. So for one, that's not good. Doomsday comes, I ain't gonna help you because one, getting there is a problem, and two, all of the people that you've hired to maintain and protect the place are suddenly going to look and see at a fucking fallout vault full of food and clean air and clean water and like guns and shit and go, the one guy who owns all of this, all of a sudden money doesn't mean anything anymore. It's the same problem I have with the people who are like, oh man, fucking, I need to buy gold for when the dollar collapses. It's like when the dominant currency on the face of this fucking earth falls to pieces, no one's going to look at your commemorative presidential coin and be like, "Yes, I will trade this brick of metal in exchange for food and ammunition."
You know
The
what you need? Batteries. You're worried about the dollar collapsing? Buy all of the batteries. Double A, triple A, C, D, buy them all.
you need jennies, you need gasoline, batteries, you need ammunition, and you need canned food, and you need seeds. Like those are the things that you need.
I don't know. Domo came. Trump coins, those couldn't possibly be worth. They couldn't possibly. They have to be worth at least as much as the Trump NFTs.
Ooh, woof. Woof. Right,
But yes, a lurking writer put a beautiful quote. Did you know that in a universe so full of wonders, they have managed to invent boredom?
right.
It's a Terry Pratchett quote.
And it's like, if you want to be a billionaire that's like making like underground bunkers, because now it's a status symbol among the ultra wealthy of like
Mhm.
how fancy their bunkers are. And I want an MTV Cribs of billionaire bunkers. I want to see the underground basketball court. I want to see the underground swimming pool with sharks with freaking lasers on them. Like, I want to see what sort of ridiculous shit that these evil motherfuckers have wasted money and resources on. Like, they spend enough money to feed entire fucking countries for an entire week. Um, Putting fucking air conditioning underground. Like, and
Oh,
you know what? I
Murr.
want to fucking see it. If you're gonna be evil, let me fucking look at it.
Murr, I'm so sorry.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that
good luck to
sucks.
them. Y'all, thing in North Carolina, this is a biblical flood level of this isn't a case of people should have been prepared, people should have no,
No.
this is yeah, not saying they weren't valued before. This is just happening right now in my hometown. Yeah, like I David has seen how I live, right? My freezer is constantly full of food. My pantry is stocked because I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I grew up on a house on the top of a hill, surrounded by a pond. We would get frozen in, we would get flooded in, we would be stuck in the house for sometimes 5 days at a time. We had wood burning stove, we didn't have central heat, right? I learned very much how to like survive if you need to. And then people are like, let's go camping. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I've done it. I've been there. I lived it. I've laid in the bathtub underneath a mattress because tornado warnings. I'm good.
It's interesting because Kay and I have had similar life experiences, but for totally different reasons. Kay has laid in a bathtub under a mattress for a tornado warning. I have laid in a bathtub because of gunfire. Um, but when it comes to biblical disasters, I am angry at anyone who. Okay, so like there are two types of natural disasters in the United States. There's the once in a generation, once in a lifetime. Holy shit, we could not have planned for this. Like I've seen pictures of people in North Carolina standing on top of their houses like it was the third act of fucking Oh Brother Where Art Thou? Like um when the what are the people with the clairvoyance in Greek literature?
Oracle?
Yeah, when the oracle was like, "Oh man, you're gonna see a cow staying on top of a house," and they're like, "Bullshit!" And then there's the biblical flood, and the cow is up there on top of the house chilling, and be like, "I'm good. I don't know about y'all motherfuckers." Like it is that level in North Carolina, and I don't care who you are or what you've done. There's no getting ready for that.
Yeah.
There's no like unless you built Noah's Ark, and let's be real, the Titanic is still at the bottom of the fucking Atlantic. Okay.
And David has multiple cats and a dog roaming in the background.
Oh, did we see?
Just briefly,
Okay.
just to drive by.
I'm house sitting for a friend of mine, and he has five cats and a dog. So you're gonna see some wildlife roaming around. Yeah, like some
Yeah,
towns are
towns are
just
just
fucking
gone.
wiped off the map. And for every single one of those people, part of us having civilization is we should take care of those people. That means don't put cops in front of grocery stores. Let them loot the
Mhm.
grocery stores because they're gonna throw all that shit away. If you have a fucking Vons in a biblical flood, you're not just gonna open the doors and sell all that shit. All that shit is an insurance write-off
Mhm.
automatically, and you're gonna open the doors and send in people making a minimum wage and have them throw everything away. So instead of throwing all that food away, have the same tax write-off and let people who need food
Yeah.
go in and take the fucking food.
Yes.
And instead of having the police protect it, have the police organize it so that one person doesn't come in and take all the fucking toilet paper. And
Yeah.
then, yep,
Lurking Writer says, side note, and apologies for the language. It'll be redacted, but fuck the people who say, well, if they're so worried about natural disasters, why don't they move away? Y'all, I moved from California to fucking New York. You know why? Well, for work, but also I don't like earthquakes. Earthquakes terrify me. I hurricanes, been through it. Tornadoes, been through it. Floods, ice, no problem. Earthquakes terrify me. I've done research on earthquakes. That makes it worse. Ignorance is bliss in the case of earthquakes in California. I moved to fucking New York, and you know what happened after I moved to New York? We
yep.
had a goddamn earthquake in New York. You can't move away from it. And that's also such a privileged thing because do you know how much it costs to move to another state? I do. I do, and I'm really privileged that I get to do that.
And here's the other thing, because the United States has a history of redlining, and redlining isn't just we don't let black people into certain neighborhoods. It's that they either make sure that mortgages are only approved for blacks and other minorities in places that have undesirable housing, or um, that they find where the black people live and then make it shitty for them. At your leisure, bring up a map of the United States, bring up the 10 freeway. Every fucking weird bend in the 10 freeway goes right through a black neighborhood. Every single one of them, especially in Florida, especially in California. Because the 10 is like this, except for little parts where it's just like badonk, 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 black neighborhoods. They specifically run them through black neighborhoods to fuck with them, to make it a less desirable place to live. In addition to that, if let's say like Katrina or the numerous hurricanes that have happened after, they're just like, oh well, you own a house, just sell the house and then move. A house only matters if someone like it's only valuable if somebody else wants to buy it, like any other commodity. Like NFTs are worthless because no one wants them. Like most of the crypto coins are worthless because no one wants them. So if you have a house in a place that was already an environmental hazard, you can't sell it.
Mhm.
Not for any money, because no one will buy it for any reason. And then you drop a flood on top of it because of a hurricane, and now the house isn't even there anymore or isn't habitable and is condemned. And you can't get a loan to fix it because it's not worth anything, and you can't sell it because it's not worth anything. So how are you going to take the land that you own and turn a profit and then use that to go buy real estate somewhere else? Especially when a starter home now is 500 fucking $1,000. And I don't know about you, but I don't have $100,000 in my bank account for a fucking down payment. I know some well-to-do people who have great jobs who don't have $100,000 in their bank account for a down payment. Also, don't have kids, but um, but it's infuriating when people are like, "Oh, well, just sell your house and pack up." No one's buying that motherfucker. Not one
Yeah.
person,
Yeah. And for a lot of people, like that house is really the only valuable thing
right?
in their life. And they didn't buy it, it's their family house, right? It's so, this isn't, I bought this house and now it's my choice. It was my grandmother gave this house to my dad, who gave this house to me.
Hmm. Or grandpa got back from the war, and for the white people out there, uh, got the white dudes out there. Grandpa got back from the war because my people didn't get the fucking GI Bill, and the GI Bill helped finance this fucking house. And two generations later, it's mine, and it's worth $700,000. um dad who got it from grandpa died, and now I am a millennial who's now worth $700,000 because I just sold the fucking house that the US government gave to my dad two generations ago. um but like, and like, circling back, like there are two types of natural disasters, because there are the people who live in Louisiana, who live in Alabama, who live in Florida, who now live in North Carolina, who live in these places where it's like, yeah, we expect a little weather. Like, and sometimes we even expect the Waffle House to close, but we don't expect the Waffle House to be wiped off the fucking map.
Yeah.
There's those
Like
people.
there's a thing too. Like when you live near the railroad tracks, you know the train schedule. You might not know, oh, at 5 o'clock, but you know, oh, I'm driving home after work. I should stop at the grocery store, stop at the gas station because I'm going to be stopped at the train anyway. Right? You know, and when the train schedule is off, you know, not because you have the train schedule memorized and written on a calendar, but because the train schedule's off, you take off at your normal time and you've got to sit and wait for the train to go by. Right? There's
121
things
cards.
we get used to, right? So you expect, oh yeah, sure, like hurricanes happen or tornadoes happen all the time in Texas, right? They were constantly, and yeah, we'd go into our little shelter, we'd lay in the da, da, da. I remember one time we had a an allegedly really bad one. And we're like, it wasn't bad where we were. And we were like, okay, we hop in the car, we drive into town, and there's a gas pump that has been lifted out of the ground and is laying down beside it. And we're like,
Oh.
oh yeah, that was okay. There was mhm. Sorry, continue, David.
So like, there are biblical disasters. There's like, we didn't see this coming, and we didn't see this coming until it was too late. And then there's the shit that happens all the goddamn time. And this is what I have a bone to pick about, because there are two places specifically that I'm referring to. One is Tornado Valley, which I think is in Nebraska.
I
It's
mean, it extends.
it's in a part of the country that I have never been to and will never go to because it is not safe for me there. I don't do enough of the right type of drugs to be cool there. And the other place, I want to say it's either southern Ohio, southern Illinois, or northern Iowa. But there's a valley somewhere in that, again, that part of the world that I will not go to, where it floods every year like clockwork. Like all like the shitty little houses are raised up, and then even with the raised up, it floods 3 feet every fucking year. And I watch an interview where they're talking to a guy, and he's like, "Yeah, it flooded this year," and and he's sitting in his house, and you could see the muddy watermark, like right here next to his fucking couch. And he's like, "Yeah, and FEMA told us this is the last time that they're coming down here, blah blah, blah, and it ruined my computer." And you see his computer sitting on the fucking floor. I'm like, motherfucker. Every year, every I like in my desk at home, the computer over here, and you always see me pull a drink from over here. Why? Because water and computer don't mix. You mean to tell me that there's a 3 foot fucking flood every goddamn year and you put your computer on the fucking floor? Are you fucking kidding? And FEMA, and he's complaining that FEMA isn't gonna ever come back. And the reporter is like, so what are you gonna do? You gonna pack up and leave? He's like, no, this is my home. This has been my home for generations. We're gonna stay. And blah blah blah. If you don't take that FEMA money and go move to a place that doesn't get fucking 4 feet of flooding every fucking year, like, if you can't get flood insurance, and you can't, and FEMA is like, hey, don't live here anymore. Here's money so you can move. Then maybe, just maybe, that's not habitable for modern humans. And there are plenty of places that are not habitable for modern humans, like, Kentucky. Um, Also, to anyone who is watching from Kentucky, I'm not taking a shot at you. I'm taking a shot at your neighbors. Please move for your own safety. Um, but it's like, and same thing with like Tornado Alley. Like, there is like a 4 mile strip of a state where every year a tornado comes down that street and rips up everything on that block. And it's like New Atlantis. Wow.
Yeah, that's
That's dark. It
Lurking
it
Rider says, "This is a village near me that puts out a sign that says New Atlantis due to the floods."
it's a good joke, but maybe it's too soon. Um, but it's like if now I live in earthquake country. There, everybody complain, everybody who tries to get a house built in Southern California, bitches and moans about all the building codes and shit. But I will say this: I cannot tell you the last time that an earthquake killed a person in Southern California or killed a lot of people. Because like a bad
Same.
like a 7.0 earthquake will get like 15 people. But I can't tell you the last time that an earthquake got a lot of people, and I can't tell you the last time that like a toaster set fire to a fucking house. Or like other like miscellaneous like electrical stuff because electricity dangerous and we use electricity all the time. People don't realize how dangerous. But every fucking year, a hurricane comes through and claims multiple lives. So I will live in the place where they have the extraneous building codes, so that when a thing goes shake a shake, because I forget where, but somewhere in the Middle East, there was this poor village that got like a 3.7 earthquake. The sort of earthquake where in LA we crack jokes about it. It's like, did you feel it? No, I didn't wake up. Killed hundreds of people. Why?
Mhm.
Because they don't have the really expensive
Yeah.
building codes that we have the privilege of having. Um,
And look, I lived in LA for a long time. I dealt with fire season, knew how to deal with fire, right? I moved to New York. New York was making fun of all the LA people for not being able to deal with rain because rain is very different in LA than New York. New York had a fire season that came down from Canada, and I'm over here telling people how to survive it. I'm like, close your windows, turn on your air conditioner, run your air purifiers, put, the COVID mask, the mask you're wearing for COVID, put that on. Even better, put a damp cloth inside there and then put it on. Like, and then people in LA are making fun of people in New York. It's like you're just not prepared for it, right? You don't know how to deal with things that you don't know how to deal with. So we should probably. So speaking of, don't know how to deal with things. Talk to your GM. Don't be a Jason because we need to get this back on topic so we can wrap up.
yes, and and my takeaway from that is there are going to be bad actors in every field in every walk of life. I every woman that I respect has a douchebag boyfriend in her rearview mirror. And if those brilliant, powerful, insightful women can stumble into Denny's fry cooks, then none of us are safe. So, you are going to run into bad actors in your life. And you're going to have friends and people you care about and people that you run into that run into bad actors. And my takeaway from the whole fucking Jason fiasco is that it was the responsibility of everyone at that table to both protect each other and to protect Willow. Is Jason unequivocally wrong? Yes, he is the villain. He is the wrongdoer. He is the perpetrator. He is the person that should get 110% of our vitriol. Luckily for everyone, I am capable of 120%, and 10 of that extra 10% is for everybody who didn't band together, who didn't stand up to protect themselves and to protect others. So the takeaway from this is you know the people in your life who are bad actors. And I'm not saying don't hang out with them. I'm not saying don't spend time with them. I have a whole list of scumbag friends where if they promise me enough pitchers of beer, I will go and watch football and yell at the TV at a bar with them. But those same dudes, I don't let them talk any kind of way to a bartender. I don't let them get creepy with a dude. And more than once, to people I don't hang out with, I've dragged them out of a bar and started yelling at them, and then we're doing fisticuffs like we're standing on the front lawn. And I'll do it again. I'll do it today. I don't care because it's important because I personally have a responsibility to protect the public when I am out and about. And you don't necessarily have to have that responsibility, but you do have a responsibility to take care of yourself and take care of the people you care about them. Because you can't tell me that you love somebody if you won't lift a finger to help them.
Laurie says,
So
I've got four such boyfriends in my rearview mirror. What's my prize? A vibrator. Go get one, please.
I'm glad Kay the Ace said so that I didn't have to.
Jason Fiasco is a great NPC name for the party to hate on. Exactly.
Man,
Yes, it's important to call out toxic behavior. And here's the thing. There are people in our lives that we have known for X amount of time that we have a great we have great relationships with, we have great memories with, we have, you know, they've been good to us. There are people who have been very good to me. And then I see how they treat my friends. And then I see how they treat other people who are not me. In fact, David and I, we have spotted people that were like, actually, we're not cool working with that person because how they treated me and how they treated David were radically different. And it's like, oh, we talk, so we know this is happening, right? So we are aware of what's going on. You can't judge, especially because, like, I promise you, Jason's a narcissist. There are narcissists, there are various kinds of abusers and manipulators. You can't, and this is why, and look, I'm gonna get on my soapbox now. This is why when Me Too started happening, when men are accused of rape, and women show up, men, women, other people show up to defend them, and they're like, I've known this person, they are good, they are kind, they wouldn't do this. But they did it. Like, there's unequivocal proof that they have done this and done this to multiple people. People who these kinds of people, they value you and they show you a face that they don't show others. So much like, here's the really big tell on Jason. Now, don't get me wrong. All of it, there's lots of red flags on Jason. But the really big tell is they said, hey, you're not the GM for us 15 minutes before the game. Shitty, bad, right? But they did that. And then everyone else just went on. That wasn't good enough for Jason. Jason went a step further and messaged Willow and said, you should stick to writing books. And we don't know what all was in that screenshot, but Willow had a screenshot of that. Jason didn't tell anyone he did that, right? Jason went out of his way to hurt a person. Jason went out of his way to ruin his friend's fun. That is incredibly telling. You can't judge people only by what you know of them. And we've talked about this. I've messed up. I've reacted badly. I've made jokes I shouldn't have because I didn't know or didn't I was coming at it with a good intention, not realizing that it could be taken a different way, right? Because I'm a racist. And while anyone who knows me knows that that was not my intention, I have had to go back to someone and go, it did not occur to me because of my white privilege. That could have been taken that way. I know you, you know me. I have faith that you know that I didn't, but it is still my responsibility to reach out to you and say, I did not mean it that way. I apologize that I put you in a position where people will look at, you know, that. Hey, Lady Luck, welcome. So don't judge people only by how they treat you. And in fact, if you know me, I'm like, if you talk to David behind my back, ask David, talk to Candace behind my back, talk to Piper, talk to people who know me. Because if I'm messing up, I want to know, and I want to make sure that they know, because that's the way I can keep myself honest, right?
And I was actually talking to someone earlier today. And we were talking about someone who might have been, probably was a good person at some point, and then just deteriorated. And let's be real, like whoever you are, you can either let yourself be influenced by whatever you encounter and let yourself slide down the red pill pipeline, or you can work on being a good person. So who you are today doesn't necessarily determine who you are tomorrow or who you are 10 years from now. And I was talking to them. I was like, yeah, this person's like shitty, but like, let's be real. Just because you were good in the past doesn't mean you're good in the future. And I'm like, listen, I could be that person. I am a man. I was born a man. I could be a shitbag tomorrow. And I told them, I was like, listen, I would never do that to Kay, and I would never do that to myself. But also, but me saying this now doesn't mean that it can't happen. And I'm working very hard to make sure that doesn't happen. But it could. It's in the realm of possibility. And I keep that in mind for everybody except for Kay. Um, but like, I also like encourage people like to not necessarily like talk about me, but like if you have a problem, one, come to me, and if you have a problem, two, come to Kay. Not just because Kay can bully me completely off the internet, but because Kay has a phone number of a guy with great forearms and very sharp knuckles who will come and talk to me about whatever I've done on my front lawn, and I will need a mouth guard and a lunch so that he can take it. Um, and I'm not saying that like physical violence is like a thing that people should be, but in a very real way, physical violence is part of the language of my youth. So if you want to speak to my inner child and really get your point across, fisticuffs work.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not afraid of that happening. Like if that happens, I will be surprised. And if he shows up and he's like, "All right, man, we gotta do this," I'd be like, "Whatever reason you're here, it's a good reason. So let's go.
Yeah,
Let me go
get it
take my
over with.
medicine." But I don't need the fear of something bad happening in order to like be a good person. But also, I make sure I do. Hi, Bun Bow. I try to do everything I can to make sure that everybody feels safe, including knowing that if they have a problem with me, Kay has a hotline to someone who will hop in the car and come deal with David. Actually,
Uh,
wherever I am in the world, because he has a passport.
Lurking Writer says, the quote, to know the true measure of man, do not look at how they treat those they think of as equals, but those whom they think of as inferior. Y'all, I work in video games. When we're hiring for a position, especially a management position, I make sure that this dev, the manager, whoever, interviews community manager, interviews with the community manager, the receptionist, social media manager, whomever they will think of as whoever they're most likely to think of as because the way they treat those people. Mm.
It
And
throws
then
you
Lurking
off.
Writer says, I would never stab someone in the back. If they're my friend, I'll stab them in the face and they'll know it's coming.
Right.
Yes. Um, yeah. Delamia says, I've tried this accountability conversation with people, and the way that being at the bar scares people is so worrying. Yeah. So we've already gone over. We're gonna wrap this up. I swear. We got lots of soapboxes today, but hold your friend groups accountable, right? And if you go 6 months and you can't find a DM because one person in your party is upset with all of them, none of them are good enough. Maybe the problem is the person in your party and not the 6 months worth of GMs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad you're here, Lady Luck. Thank you for joining us.
If 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 you go outside and everyone you meet all day is an asshole, maybe they're not the asshole. And then the other thing is like it's like if you go everywhere and it smells like shit, maybe check your shoe.
Talk to your GM and not 15 minutes before the game,
Right.
right? Um, hey, Glory Kills. To hold your friend groups accountable is important. You can be a good friend and still hold those people accountable. Exactly. Jason Fiasco is trash and should have his dice compensated. Exactly. So talk to your GMs. And again, remember, y'all, GMs are awesome. Like, I have so many GM. I am playing in a game right now in a world that this GM has been running games in for 7 years. It is a homebrew world. He knows this world like the back of his hand, and it is incredible that he just keeps running games for us, and we are constantly trying to figure out his world and the way things work and how things link together, and it is wonderful. Adam from the Emergency Power Podcast, not a huge sci-fi fan, went out and learned all the sci-fi things so that he could run Starfinder for us because they wanted to give us an incredible game. Adam So Wizard, who's running the game here on Saturday, went, I want to run a Lord. I want to take Lost Plains of Palnar and turn it into a Lord of the Rings inspired game and run it with Unlikely Heroes. And we're like, let's go. And it's great. GMs do a lot of work. And as you've heard from David and I, and Rex said in chat, there's some player comments that haunt you. We are so constantly terrified that we're not doing good enough, that players aren't having enough fun, that we're not giving enough hints, or we're doing too much. The simplest, kindest word to your GM can really make a difference. So reach out to your GM and say, hey, I really like this setting. I'm really excited to play this, but like, I feel like there's maybe a plot hole here. Is that a thing for us to figure out? Hey, I really like da-da-da-da, but like, I'm not digging how you play NPCs, right? How can we talk? Don't just go, I don't think you're good enough. I mean, no, fair. Run away, Mer. Let's be fair. I have definitely sat at a couple tables where I'm like, this is not the GM for me. This GM. And there's a difference between this GM is not for me and, oh, well, you're not good enough, so I'll cancel 15 minutes before the session.
Right.
Know when it's time to dip. Again, unlike in D&D, IRL disengaging is a free action.
Yep.
You get to disengage. Don't be the Jason fiasco and do it 15 minutes before the second session of a game that a GM unpaid ran a one-shot for you to be in, spent 2 days of character creation, world building, and did all of that work only for you to dip after one session 15 minutes before the second. That's just a dick move. Heck you.
Yeah. And if one of your peoples is being a dickbag, like, I'm not saying don't support your people, but like, if one of your people is being a dickbag, then whoever they're being a dickbag to, go make it right. Like I said, I've dragged somebody out of a bar for being shitty and then gone back in and tipped them with my last $20. I'm like, this whole $20 is yours. I am sorry. We'll never be back here.
But yes, thank you for joining us for the Jason fiasco. Thank you to I think it was Lady Luck and Ribbonanza for the clips. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Joyce, for the follow. Thank you, Ilaria, for the resub. 6 months. That's incredible. I'm going to be streaming something Tuesday.
Thursday.
Not Thursday. Good gravy. Thursday. I'm not
Time
entirely
is a
sure
flat
what.
circle.
Right. I do not believe we will be streaming Friday. But I am not entirely sure. Saturday, we will be doing Unlikely Heroes, so please come on by for that. I am very excited. Why is that not on the calendar? I have to fix that. Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, Unlikely Heroes. It is episode 2 of our campaign of 4 parts. Things are getting really fun. Yes, thank you all for hanging out. Lurking Writer, thank you for all the comments. Rex, Matt, Glory Kills, thank you for joining us. All of those things. You all are wonderful. We are going to run away and raid someone. David can tell us who.
We are raiding Cypher of Tyr.
All right, we're going to go see Cypher of Tyr, who's chit-chatting. And as always, y'all, be kind to yourself, be excellent to others, and we will see you next time. Don't be a Jason.